Transhumanism is also the end of evolution, both in terms of the goal and in terms of the end of this phase in the natural selection, supposedly, of creatures. We now are coming to the end. We're coming to a new beginning, and this is apparent from everything that they're attempting to do, take it in their own hands. The transhumanist disdain of humanity, the corollary of its rejection of God, is nothing new, but indeed it has its roots deep within the European humanism and the Enlightenment project. At the heart of the Enlightenment project was the sense that through human ingenuity, human reason can discover the secrets of the heart of reality, harnessing the powers of nature for the betterment of mankind. This is why the Enlightenment, brothers and sisters, which shaped all modern Western nations, including the United States, perhaps more than any other country, the United States was shaped by the Enlightenment ideas, by people like this man here, Bacon and others. That's why it is so anti-Christian at its heart. It's an apostasy from the true Christian vision, because of exactly this arrogance and this exaltation of human reason above everything, including God. And of course, not even in recognition that the human being has a spirit, has a nous, right? Has an organ in which he communes with God. It's simply the human reason became the end all and the driving force behind all betterment, all improvement of mankind. The driving force is the Baconian purpose to relieve the human state of its frailties. This is the heart of the European humanist project, the Enlightenment project, right? To relieve the human state of its frailties, but also relieving it of its very humanity. Because, of course, if it's not made in the image and likeness of God, it's not ended in God, it doesn't even have reference to the spirit or nous of man, well, then the very humanity of man is being lost through this very desire to relieve the human state of its frailties. Or put differently, transhumanism is of a cloth with the Baconian project, begun in the 17th century, finding its culmination in the post-human vision of the future. This is all from Jeffrey Bishop, and we appreciate very much his work on this. In an exact inversion of the Christian understanding of history, man progressively falling away from God, right? This is the Christian understanding that as history goes on, man inevitably will fall away and will, at the end of the world, the Lord will come back and he will say, will I find faith on the earth? And of course, faith, trust in God is the basis for all progress toward theosis, right? Without that, there is no theosis. There's no God by grace. There's no union with God. So the fact that the Lord asks, will I find faith at the end of the world, means that they had entirely fallen away from at the end of humanity, end of history, the gift of salvation, the gift of theosis that God gave with his incarnation. So we are expecting the dissolution. And in fact, that's what we see. We see a more barbarian humanity than ever in the 20th century. More death, more destruction, more perversion, more distortion. And the fact that people can stand in this state of things and talk about perfecting humanity and overcoming is truly phenomenal. The blindness of contemporary man to his own state is truly just unbelievable. You stand and you say, how can man not see their utter subjection to the passions and slavery to the passions? And yet they talk as if they are greater than all that have come before them. They've arrived. We've arrived now. So the transhumanists are the exact opposite of reality. As faithful evolutionists, they believe humanity is on the verge of achieving God-likeness without God. Even as they disdain and move away from man's biological roots, transhumanists like Ray Kurzweil, we see they're filled with an unbounded hubris and optimism in the promises of evolution to bring ever greater complexity, greater elegance, greater knowledge, greater intelligence, greater beauty. Unbelievable, really, the blindness of this writer. Greater creativity, greater levels of subtle attributes such as love. Wow. I just stand in awe of the total and utter blindness of these people to the reality of where we are in terms of humanity. We don't even know the meaning of beauty and love any longer. We don't even have our own identity. We, meaning in society, we see these trends of human beings not even knowing if they're what they are. They're men, they're women, they're created in God's image. What is the purpose of their life? And yet, this man believes with unbounded hubris and optimism, he's going to arrive at greater complexity, greater beauty, greater love. Though they move away from God and overcome man's biological limitations, they are nonetheless convinced that they are engaged in a spiritual undertaking. How's that possible? Well, only in a Gnostic sort of way can they understand that. They are correct in a Gnostic sort of way. The spirits that are animating their ascent, however, are the fallen spirits, the demons. And they're not leading them to superhumanity, but subhumanity. This is the tragedy of these men who perhaps truly desire, some of them, a greatness for humanity, but they're going in the opposite direction. Again, J.P. Bishop observes concerning the transhumanist faith in man's rational powers to transcend man. At the light stage of its existence, the human stands on the brink of a choice: adapt or go out of existence. This is according to the transhumanists. Never mind that in sowing its own evolutionary existence, it creates the conditions of its own demise. In other words, the irony here is that as they say we must adapt, otherwise we will go out of existence, they adapt and go out of existence as human beings. So they are painting humanity into a corner, and they're damning it to its own demise, its own destruction, through their own means and or their own attempts at elevating humanity. This is the great tragedy that we're facing. Their belief is that by its rational powers and its ability to design its own evolutionary future, the human animal can outwit its collapse into the abyss. You see the imagery here of the transhumanist, right? This is the human being now is going to become what? What is that? A totally different cyborg kind of existence. In this designer evolution, is this designer evolution particularly, in this designer evolution, particularly powerful people endeavor to steer the evolutionary movement along the path of complete mastery and control over all that was, is, and is to come, giving greater power to and greater aggrandizement of a particular form of human being. Here, the only hand guiding evolution, brothers and sisters, is the transhumanist, or perhaps a certain elite among the transhumanists. Transhumanist post-humanity thus ironically brings the inevitable end to evolution. Selection is no longer natural. Transhumanists are in the driver's seat, tweaking and directing evolution. You've seen it, in fact, in our own days. You just saw, if you were paying attention, here in the left-hand corner, you see an image from the Project Veritas expose of a Pfizer scientist and manager who said that they are mutating COVID via directed evolution to continue profiting from the vaccine. So this is very contemporary, what we're talking about, not in the future. We're not talking about something that may happen, although there is much hope in the future put into dreams and myths that they're going to achieve great and amazing things like immortality right now.